Welcome to another marketing strategy session. I'm your host, Mr. Marketology, and today I have Lauren Salon with me, and she's going to talk about PR, visibility, influencer marketing, getting noticed. I don't know how many other ways I can say it, but it's important. Lauren, thanks for coming on the call.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to dive into all the things. And yeah, I run a PR agency and work with a lot of entrepreneurs to help them really stand out as the expert that they are, to assert their credibility, elevate their authority, and get more visibility.
Cool. And here's the thing, when I found you, you're in a competitive space for some of your clients. I mean,
yes.
When you're talking health, fitness, beauty, those are competitive spaces.
Yeah.
How do you cut through all that clutter? I mean, it's saturated.
So we specialize in working with entrepreneurs and personal brands, and a lot of whom are in the business and entrepreneurship space. So business coaches, speakers, that sort of thing. But then also, fitness experts, people in the lifestyle space. So kind of that whole world, and how we cut through the clutter. I mean, doing a lot of what we do for our clients and teach our clients what to do. So that's showing up and getting visible ourselves. So whether it's doing a podcast interview or guest coaching, that's being active on social media, hosting trainings, like going on Clubhouse, like I was right before this convo. So so getting seen more ourselves, and then not being afraid to say what we do and what we're great at, and share that expertise with the world. Because if people don't know what it is that you do, they're not going to be able to hire you, right? So like owning our authority and what we're really good at, and then sharing that as much as possible is one of the things. And then making sure too that, one of the things that I like to teach my clients and the students who are in my PR Accelerator program is, I truly believe that the more you are in the world, like the more yourself you are when you show up, whether it's on social media, in your business, you name it, that the more successful you're going to be. You're going to attract those clients who are like, oh my gosh, that's my kind of person, right?
Okay.
And so that like unique flavor of just being yourself, I think is a differentiator as well. But like practicing what we preach, like owning our expertise and showing up and sharing that message with a lot of people.
Wow. So the being yourself, I mean, that is harder than it sounds.
Yep.
I mean, being authentic in a social media world where everybody is showing their best life in a sense. And sometimes it's not even their real life, but everybody's in the Lamborghinis and everybody is making all these major moves and so forth. How do you get people when they're in your PR accelerator training, how do you get them to peel back all of the superficial layers and reveal their true self?
Oh my God, it's such a good question, because easier said than done. And it sounds so easy. Oh, just be yourself, just be you, right? Don't care what other people think. Like, well, that one probably is a lot harder for a lot of people, but it's a lot harder than it sounds most of the time. And it can be really scary too, because we're afraid of judgment, and because people get very, emboldened in the comments to be like, oh, well, a lot of people say things in comments, if you will, like on social media, that you would never say to somebody in real life if you were saying it to their face. Absolutely not. And so there's for sure fear around showing up super authentically, and whether that's judgment or like haters, trolls, that sort of thing, or even if it's not wanting to like alienate potential clients. If you're like, oh, well, if I talk about this, like, I don't want people who might, who would want to hire me, but then they hear me say this or act like this, or if I'm being silly or something, or talking about how I had a bad day, I don't want them to see that as a negative about me and then not want to hire me. And
Yeah.
so with that, like several things. One, it takes a lot of work to like have all that shit up to not be yourself, right? Even if if you're so used to it, it still takes a lot of work and a lot of energy. So once you clear that out, like you feel so much lighter and so much more free, right? But then also people want polarization, right? And having strong like feelings or opinions about certain things or whatever it is, but taking a stance and being you, right? Because that can be polarizing in itself. That actually does really well. And so when you're just like vanilla down the middle, like neutral about everything, like that doesn't really land with people. And then too, like we all have like dream clients and stuff that we want to work with, or people that you vibe with more. And so you want to like show people either like, hey, I'm like your flavor, if you will, or you want to show them the door, right? And so deciding on those things that are like, hey, well, this is really important to me and this is like part of who I am, so I'm gonna like put that out there, and if people don't like it, whatever, because then they're not my person to work with, you know? And so I think like owning that and knowing that people leaving or not, like realizing that you're not for them, that's totally okay, because the people who are for you, the people who hear you talk and are like, oh my gosh, you're saying it's like you're in my brain, right? Like that's the effect that we want to have on people. And so when you're showing up so authentically, people are going to have that feeling more. So not being afraid of polarity and showing all those sides of you. And I know for me personally in my business, like it hasn't affected my ability to get clients, whether I'm being silly or more opinionated about what's going on in the world, or like, you know, I dance in my office like every morning to get my energy up. And I often share that, you know, and so I'm like, I don't care if someone's like, oh, like that's unprofessional or whatever. I'm like, no, but this is me and how I'm able to show up as, show up as the best version of myself in the world. And if that like rubs you the wrong way, then you aren't going to like talking to me on the phone probably, you know? So.
And that's hard though, because we want the clients, and we have been told this is the image for so many years up to this point that you should have as a professional. But to be honest, it's better to not have a client that's going to be a headache client that's going to suck your energy and drain your energy than it is to have a bunch of clients but being miserable because they're not good fits. And one thing that I've realized has been, when you are so used to having clients that you're working around to make them good fits, when you do find a good fit, it's sort of like dating. It's like when you had a bunch of bad dates, when you find somebody that's really a good person, a good date, it's like you have everything you said you wanted, and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know how to react because I'm so used to arguing with you. I'm so used to debating and enforcing my case. I'm so used to putting up this face here for you. Now I have somebody that accepts me for who I am, appreciates me for who I am. And it's like, what am I supposed to do now? Because, you know, how do I can be myself, but being myself is like not being myself now. And it's
Yeah, I love how you said that. Yeah. Because like I was saying, it takes work to be like, oh my gosh, well, what if I do this, what are they going to think? If I do that, what are they going to think? If I right? That's a lot of energy. And oh my gosh, we have so many other things that matter more than that to focus on. And so when you get really comfortable in your own skin, you're going to just show up as a more vibrant and magnetic version of yourself and be in better alignment and all of that. And that kind of energy is very, you know, is appealing, and people want to be a part of that. And I also, you know, I can be outspoken and like spicy and stuff like that. And I also, so I know what my values are as well. And so I know like when I'm sharing things that maybe, and I not second guess myself, but I check in with myself often if I'm sharing something that could be a little bit more polarizing, being like, okay, is this in line with my values? If that's a yes. If this pisses people off, what would happen next, right? Like what are the consequences of that? Am I okay with those consequences? Okay, then post or share or say it, right? If I'm like, ooh, if I say that, that actually isn't really like what I'm here to talk about. I may feel that and whatever it is, but if I say that and put that out there, or if I show that side, what are the consequences of that? And am I okay with that? And sometimes it's a no. So I go, okay, then we're not going to share that. Maybe I'll just send it to some friends,
yeah. I've had to do that. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, I had to turn down a podcast. They wanted to talk about a topic, and though to my friends and family, I would talk about that topic in a professional space. First of all, it's not in line with my brand. Not that I don't, I'm scared of saying what I feel. It's not that. But since it's not in line with my brand, people will see me in this light that has nothing to do with my brand. And like you said, is this a part of my value system? And is it that important for me to share this? And I was like, you know, to be honest, it's not a topic I would talk to with a stranger in the street about. It's not something that I want to associate my brand to say, oh yeah, that guy believes this. And I know that the topic itself would have got a lot of attention, which it does get a lot of attention on his page, but it's not in my line. And so that's why I just declined it. I said, yeah, my view on it, but I won't be on your show to argue with, because he's going to pair me up. He was pairing me up with somebody that was totally different on the opinion, just so we could debate. And I'm like, yeah, for what I'm trying to do, what I'm doing for my brand, I don't need to be in this argument with this other person just so you can get a lot of views.
Yeah, exactly. And like one of those things, I mean, obviously, like we've all lived through the past year and so much has happened in the world and in our country. And I'm in Los Angeles, and we have been one of the most like shut down places with really like no science to back it up and stuff like that. And I've been vocal about that and like about what's going on here in LA and in California, not a ton. Cause again, I'm not trying to be like a political activist or anything like that. That's not what I'm here for. And I am all about like freedom and independence. And like, I love entrepreneurship and small businesses, and seeing so many businesses in my neighborhood, in my city, shutting down and people just hurting so much. I'm like, no, that's in line with my values. And because it's on a smaller scale, like being in the city, the state, that sort of thing, I'm like, sharing about this, like, can actually lead to some change. Right. And so those sort of things where I'm like, yeah, like, I don't need to talk about like what's going on, like nationally, like all that kind of stuff. Like, yes, I'm all for reopening and everything like that, but I'm like, that's not what I'm here to do. And when it's like my home and in my neighborhood and stuff like that, then maybe I'll be a little bit more vocal about it. But yeah, I completely agree. Like making sure it's in line with your values. And then also like, is this in line with my brand? And when I do things that maybe are off brand, or like talking about, our California situation over here, I will say why I'm sharing about it and why it's important to me, so that my audience also understands like, oh, she's talking about like, the California lockdown situation, like that's random. And I'm like, no, but here's why, because like I have been able to build a beautiful business that gives me so much freedom and choice and allows me to do life the way that I want. And I want that possibility for everybody. And so seeing businesses like being treated so poorly in our state, like that hurts my heart, so sharing with my audience, like why that's connected to my values and why that matters to me is helpful. And so for people listening in, if you're going to share something that's maybe polarizing and could be not like exactly the kind of content that you share normally, sharing why it's matters to you and how that lines up with your values.
Yeah, definitely putting it into context is important, because it's, especially with today's media, it's so easy to all of a sudden get speeded into a different type of brand by accident. There's been people that overnight have become authorities overnight because of a post that went viral. And now all of a sudden, now you have to be the one that talks about this topic all the time, because You stated an opinion. It went viral. Everybody now wants to know what you have to think.
Yeah, accidental expert.
Yeah. And so, those type of things you think about, which really brings me to the next one. I mean, the way media has changed. We used to have radio. Now it's podcasts. We used to have television. Now it's streaming. We used to have newspapers. Now it's blogs and social posts. Media has changed so much, and it's so, I keep using the word saturated, but that's really the best word. Everybody is an expert. Everybody is a newscaster. How do you position yourself and your clients to leverage the new age media versus those, especially the older ones that are so used to the old way of doing things? I'm going to do push marketing. I'm going to buy a bunch of commercials and tell you what you're going to think. How do you get them past that transition? Because you work with some big name companies, $1 million companies, and entrepreneurs, and it's totally different from a giant fortune-sized company to an entrepreneur when it comes to that type of process.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about my journey up until now in my career. So I've worked in advertising, graphic design, marketing, PR for the bulk of my career, and started my own agency about 7 years ago. And the last PR agency I was at we specialized in crisis communications for the healthcare industry. So specifically for the hospital industry, and worked with some of the biggest hospitals and healthcare systems in the country, like major name brand, like Cleveland Clinic, like those kinds of hospitals that everyone knows of. And it's a very different marketing and PR approach when you're working with hospitals and healthcare systems, as opposed to working with like individual entrepreneur, like name brand entrepreneurs. And so a lot of what we do now, and when it comes to oversaturation, I'm going to talk about this just real quick. So things felt very, if we think a year ago, right? We're at the 1 year anniversary kind of the shutdown and everything. And so a year ago, everyone started flooding online to either like ramp up their online presence or be like, oh crap, now I need to start an online business because everything's moving online. So we saw such a shift into the online space, like very like mad rush to get online and to show up online all the time. And so around this time, like March, April, people are going live on Instagram, on Facebook, nonstop every single day, giving away so much free value. And so it felt very much for a lot of people like, oh my goodness, like this is so oversaturated. How am I even going to stand out? And then you're having celebrities and like major influencers going live all the time. You're like, how am I going to get seen past them? Like what is going on? And so yes, more people came online in 2020. More people are continuing to come online in 2021. And so you absolutely need to have a online component to your business, and you need to be able to cut through the noise and stand out for sure. And one of the reassuring things about all of this is that a ton more people came online to consume and to purchase as well, right? So the floodgates opened from both sides, because one, you've got people, whether they're staying home on unemployment or whatever, or they still have their full salary and they're working a fraction of the hours. Because I know a lot of people in that situation too are like, oh, well, now I work from home and I work 3 hours a day and they still pay me just as much. So they're dicking around on social media as well, a lot more. So you've got a lot of people, yes, who are showing up to sell their thing online, but you've also got a lot of people who are showing up to buy all the things online or to consume the information, the entertainment, whatever it is. So that's what I like to remind people a lot with the oversaturation thing is like, and we have a lot more who are watching too. And how to stand out. Again, like with our clients, we do a mix of kind of more traditional media. So like online publications, whether that's like Forbes, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, like that kind of stuff. And then we mix in podcasts as well. And we do a lot of guest coaching for clients that would make sense for, because we have a lot of like business coaches, speakers, that sort of thing. So we'll get them in groups where they can do like a guest training or something.
Oh, cool.
So a mix of online publications, more traditional media, podcast interviews, guest coach, like guest expert speaking stuff, And then we also do like social media collaboration. So we'll set up like an IG live with a client and another big influencer or prominent leader in the industry, so they can have a conversation live together, which is great for visibility and engagement as well. So we do a mix of kind of traditional and like more new media. And the way that we help our clients stand out is we are like part of my job, and what my team and I are really good at is being able to package up our clients' mission and vision and expertise, and in a way that is really relevant and lands for other people. So seeing what their vision and mission is, packaging up in a way that is going to resonate with others, and not just like anybody, but resonate with their ideal clients and the people that they're here to help. So we help them package that up and get that out into the world. And then one of the key things when it comes to PR is making whatever it is that you're doing timely and relevant for what's going on in the world. So we recently had a client featured in Wall Street Journal, and that story went insanely viral and got picked up by tons and tons of other media outlets. And the story was about how so this client, she built an online business up to, multi-million dollars in about 2 years, which is incredible in itself. But the story that went viral was about her and her husband like ending their lease in their like luxury Manhattan apartment and buying an RV and hitting the road and running their entire business and life out of a freaking 40-foot RV. And that went crazy viral because yes, we were able to talk about her business and how amazing all that is. And she's had, some new client inquiries come in from that. But the piece that got the story and made this go crazy online is because it's like that RV life. And so many people over the past year have done that. Like I can count on 2 hands, like the number of friends who have like either sold their homes, cut their leases, and bought RVs and are just like traveling the world that way. So this has been a really like a hot thing over the past year, and something so many people are interested in and curious about. And so that story took off. And so knowing how to make something relevant for the world and is really important.
It's interesting you say that, because I was actually on an interview with a guy that's exactly what him and his family did. They travel the world in their RV. He does his podcast. Shout out to the heroes out there. He knows who I'm talking about. And it was amazing because I was like, so you mean to tell me you basically live in your RV and you travel around the country and you just park, do a podcast, see the sights, go to the next spot? He's like, yeah. I was like, what a life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I'm missing out. I'm missing out on everything.
Yeah. And there are definitely like, there's highs and lows with that, because you're then like in a 40-foot bus with your partner nonstop, running a business together, and like definitely dealing with Wi-Fi issues and stuff like that. And when you run a completely online business, that can create some stress. So there are highs and lows with it. But yeah, so many people are like, I want to know like like peel back the curtain and tell us about what it's like moving your entire life into an RV, life and business. And so being able to not just pull out the magic, like what is your client's magic, and share that, but like, what's your client's magic and why does it matter right now? And why should people care about this for the world that we're living in currently?
Okay. Now with PR, back in the day, it was a who you know thing. I mean, you get a PR company. It wasn't really about them doing press releases. It was, do they know the sources to get your story told? Is it still that, especially with influencer marketing in the mix? Is it still a who you know game, or is it more of, even if you are cold and you don't know anybody, you can get in front of them in a way that they can pick up your story?
It's still very relationship based. Absolutely. Because PR, one of the reasons I love PR is because it creates a lot of leverage. So PR is really powerful because you are involving a third party. So third party credibility, third party authority. So like right now, for example, your audience probably has never met me. I mean, who knows who's in your audience? Maybe some of them know me already, but audience trusts you, right? Like you've built a relationship with everybody listening and tuning in. They trust you, and they know that you're going to bring on guests to have interesting, valuable, insightful conversations with, and that they're going to learn something or be inspired or whatever it is. And so they trust that you're going to bring guests on that are worth their time. Right. Yeah. And so by way of that, I get to borrow some of that trust and credibility. If they're like, oh, well, if Jeff has them on, like maybe she's worth listening to. And then it's my job, like while I'm here, to make sure, you know, I'm providing value and everything like that, and makes it worth everyone's while. But because they know you and they know, like, and trust you, some of that know, like, and trust gets applied to me as well. And so I get to like tap into a new audience that's a little bit warmed up for me. So that's one of the things that's so cool. And then once this podcast episode goes out into the world, it lives out in the world, you know, forever, if you will, and continues to generate views and visibility. So you do the interview once, and then it's out in the world living as an evergreen marketing piece for you. And so one of the things, like, yes, relationships are so important with that. And when it comes to PR and working with an agency, like the relationships they have are super important. That doesn't mean that you won't get opportunities at places that they don't have relationships at, because we are constantly building our relationships and making new connections and everything like that. And we get our clients into things where we've never gotten anyone before. You know, if we're like, oh, well, we don't know anyone there, but we're going to do our best and see what we can make happen. And in the process, we'll often build that relationship. So then it's easier the next time. So the relationships you have are super important. It's still very much a relationship game. And you can cultivate relationships yourself, and your agency will be and should be. And you don't have to have them to get press, but it does help for sure.
Yeah. So tell me this. Now, we've talked a little bit about traditional PR, but now the game has changed. So influencer marketing has changed. And a lot of people look at influencer marketing based on your follower count, which can or cannot be of value. And they look at, well, I want something to go viral. That's the word, viral. Talk a little bit about influencer marketing, how it works, who to look for, and then what is the real meaning of viral? Because I heard, I think it was Les Brown said, I can go viral. All I have to do is set myself on fire and people will share that video. So talk a little bit about influencer marketing, because it's really hot right now.
Yeah. So influencer marketing is basically you partner with an influencer or many influencers and get them to, either you can create like a video together or a post together and both share it, tags, that sort of thing. Or most common is you either pay them or gift them product that they then talk about on their social media platform and tag you. So again, we've got that third party credibility, the influencer telling their audience who they've already built trust with, hey guys, this product, this person, this thing, whatever it is, like y'all should check it out because like this is cool. And because their audience trusts them, you hopefully will get sales off of that thing or more visibility, whatever it is. And so you can work with influencers like nano influencers, which are your smaller influencers, all the way up to like mega celebrity status influencers with millions of followers. And so my team and I, we often run a lot of micro influencer campaigns. So working with influencers in the like 10,000 to 50,000 follower range. And we do that. And we've worked with influencers with bigger followings, but you're going to be putting a lot more budget into that one influencer. Whereas we can work with 100 who have 10,000 followers, 15, 20, 50,000 followers. And while the total follower count may not add up to the same as like some mega celebrity influencer, smaller influencers tend to have better engagement rates, more trust with their audience, because they're not inundating their audience with sponsored posts and stuff like that all the time. So it kind of depends what the goals are and what the product is and what the budget is to determine what size of influencer makes sense to work with. But we work with a lot of, 10 to 50,000, 100,000 follower influencers. And influencer marketing is great for products that are like lower price point. So like we do a lot of influencer projects for books. So like book launches, because we can gift the influencers a copy of the book and they can share it with their audience. It's real, a book's like like $15 to $30 or something like that. So it's pretty easy to share and to get sales in that way. We've done a lot of events with influencer marketing. We've helped with podcast launches with influencer marketing. So just like getting influencers to be like, hey, I just discovered this new podcast. In the most recent episode, they talked about and you should definitely go check it out, sort of thing. So it's great for free stuff, of course, that just has a swipe up, or lower ticket products a lot of the time, that you don't have to then go into a whole conversation about what it is and all this stuff. That's pretty easy for your audience to be like, oh, that sounds cool. Sure. I'll check it out. And so it's, we do a lot of projects like that, and it's a really great way to get in front of a ton of new eyeballs. And when it comes to using smaller influencers, you get to test out like which types of influencers and who it's going to be more effective for. But it's a great way to it's a great piece to add to your marketing plan. So like we have a client now who sells candles and fragrances, like clean candles and fragrances, and we're doing traditional PR stuff with them, but also like exploring some influencer stuff too, because that's a really easy thing to share a physical product to share visually. And then, if it's a $20, $30 candle, your audience is not going to like think too hard about like, oh, well, gosh, like, is this worth the investment, sort of thing, So it's great for those lower ticket, tangible products.
Cool. And it really goes back to the first part of marketing. I love that AT&T commercial where she says word of mouth marketing. Yeah. I mean, it really goes back to just word of mouth. So
exactly. That's what it is. Social proof and social selling. So when you see like an influencer talking about something, you're like, oh, well, if so-and-so thinks it's cool, maybe I should check it out.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, last question. When it comes to like you working with your clients and you're building out how you're going to approach the market, do you usually like have a repository full of content already prepared, or you put them on a schedule and say, hey, every day I need you to record this, that, and the third? I mean, when you're preparing your clients, how do you recommend them approach just getting out there? Because that's a big shift when you're not recording or you're not putting out any content, and all of a sudden now you have to be consistently putting out content. It's a big shift.
So a lot of our clients are like our one-on-one agency clients, like where we do everything for them. Most of them have multiple six-figure, if not $1 million businesses. So typically they come to us with a good system for content already underway. So they're putting out content pretty regularly, and they're wanting help to leverage what they're currently doing. And so we will often recommend they do like IG live once a week or something, or just get started with like Instagram live or going live, because it's a great way to connect, and video is super effective for connecting with your audience. So we will often recommend, we'll provide guidance around how frequently to post, how frequently to go live, collaborations, that sort of thing. But a lot of the times our clients have a decent content strategy in place. So really it might just be a few tweaks that we are suggesting, and most of our job and what we're doing comes in from presenting them with new opportunities that they get to respond to, whether that's showing up for an interview, submitting questions for an online article, that kind of stuff. With my clients in the PR Accelerator, so my PR Accelerator program is, I created it because I was getting so many entrepreneurs, like peers, who were like, hey, I know I need more PR. I want to hire you and da 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 da. I don't necessarily have the budget to do that right now, but I also don't want to learn how to do it all myself, like that sort of thing. So I created the PR Accelerator program, which is a hybrid coaching program, expert networking type program, and PR agency hybrid mashup situation. So everybody in the PR Accelerator learns how to do their own PR themselves effectively and efficiently. And then we bring in media experts. Like last week, we had the CEO of an online, the CEO and founder of an online magazine that's a top publication come in and share best practices when it comes to pitching. And all of our members got to throw their story angles out and get his direct feedback on them. So we give everyone the opportunity to network with media experts who could legitimately feature them in podcasts, media outlets, that sort of thing, so they can practice their pitches. And then my team and I step in and do some of the pitching for them. So everyone gets to experience what it's like to work with an agency, if they're not quite at that level yet. And so for people who are a great fit for the PR Accelerator, sometimes they don't have that content strategy in place and they're not showing up as consistently. So things that I recommend is, a lot of my business is run through Instagram, as is most of my clients, but I recommend, like, whatever your main social media platform is, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, even posting on your main feed at least once a day. And if you're not getting to that, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up, but best practice is once a day, going in your stories, showing up on stories daily. Absolutely. And then going live. Every single social media platform at this time, like, pretty much has a live component, including TikTok and stuff. So going live is a great way to get in front of new audiences. And so figuring out a strategy and a schedule that works for you and isn't going to be overwhelming. So like with Clubhouse, you and I were talking about Clubhouse before too, figuring out a system that's going to work and not overwhelm you. So definitely I encourage my clients to be more visible and show up more consistently and get that locked in as a habit. So like, I want everyone going live, like, at least once a week and training on something or doing a Q&A, whatever it is. And then, we do support with, like, what sort of content should I be posting, for my weekly posts and stuff like that. And you want it to be in line with what your business is all about, what you help people, but then provide variety, right? You can post stuff that's entertaining. You can post stuff that's teaching. You can post stuff that's aspirational and kind of that role model vibes. But having a steady rotation of content. Like, if I'm talking about PR, being an entrepreneur, health and wellness, so that you can be the most effective human in your business and in your life. Being you, right? Being authentically, unapologetically you. If those are some of my content buckets, if you will, going through a rotation of those topics and not only posting PR, right? But being like, oh wait, no, we need a dash of, like, the me stuff in there too, or the, like, mindset stuff. So having that kind of, those content buckets and a content cycle that you can follow is helpful as well.
Hey, that was a great tip.
Oh, thank you.
Because when you're business focused, this is my business, this is my business, this is my business, and it's all the same stuff over and over. By day 3, they're like, we know this is your business.
And what you and I were talking about before with being super authentic, like, when I talk about mental health stuff, because I have a history with anxiety. I've also dealt with depression before. When I share that kind of stuff, or when I share, like, in my stories, sometimes if I'm having a really rough time, like, sometimes I will share that with my audience and be like, hey guys, like, I'm having a hard week and I might cry while I'm telling this to you, but here's what's going on and here's how I'm working through it. So if any of you are going through anything like this, maybe this will support you. And when I share, like, the real, like, human side of myself and the tough stuff and the stuff that's vulnerable and the stuff that maybe I'm a little scared to share, and the stuff that's not only about business, I get so much amazing feedback that, one, helps me and helps me feel better, right? But I also get so many people being like, oh my gosh, I deal with this too. Thank you so much for talking about it. This is really helpful. Like, this, now I don't feel as alone in dealing with anxiety and all this kind of stuff. And I know that has helped me to secure more clients because I'm showing that I'm a real human, and it's not all just like, oh my gosh, we're crushing it all the time and I always have high amazing energy, blah blah blah, you know. I'm like, no, I'm also like a normal person too, and I have shit days and can get into shit moods and I make mistakes and all that. So like showing the human side is important too, and yeah, not having it be all, here's my business, here's my business, here's my business.
Buy my record.
Yeah.
And it's funny because actually there's a TikToker that came on and he was talking about how he had a real bad day. And he was like very, very low at the time. And it's funny because I follow him, but that one is the first one I ever commented on his stuff.
Yep.
I never engaged. I just consumed. And to all my people out there, I know y'all mad at me because I'll be sending you TikToks at like 1 a.m, but that's when I get a chance to look at them. Yeah. But, you know, I was like, wow, this guy's really going through it right now. And I engaged. I'm like, look, man, keep your head up. It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, hey, I love your content. I love what you're doing. You know, you keep it up, you know, versus all this other stuff with like jokes. And I watch, I laugh, and I share, but I would never interact with him. I never engage with him. And seeing that human side to him brought out, I guess, humanity as well in me to say this is not just a television show in a sense.
Yeah,
it's a real person, and he's putting his stuff out there, and this guy's putting his heart out there now. So I think that is important, because before I would have just looked at it as another joke, and I'd have sent it off to somebody and so forth. But yeah, that human side, now I follow him not only for his jokes, but somewhat I want to see if he's going to be still okay, you know?
Yeah, you're invested in him as a human now. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's I love that you said that, because that's when we do that as well, you know, I think it's important to not just use social media as like a journal, right? Of like all the things in your life and stuff like that. And when we show those vulnerable moments, yes, it humanizes you. Your audience can connect with you more. You become more relatable for sure. But then also it gives your audience a gift of being able to support you and to like lift you up. And so when you are, especially like as a content creator or an influencer, when you're the one who's always on and I'm the expert and I've got the answers and I'm here to like inspire you and da 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 da, when you're always in that space, like, yeah, that's a cool thing and people come to you for that. But it's also a really special thing to be able to give your community the opportunity to lift you up too. And then they get, and not to use that strategically, but they get even more invested in you, because they're like, hey, oh wait, this person that I look up to and I admire and I look to for inspiration or education, whatever it is, like they need some lifting up. Okay, like let me step in and help lift them up. And it's a really empowering thing for everybody. So I love that.
Great. Well, Lauren, thanks for coming on. I don't want to take up all your day. Everybody, you know, I'm sure you've learned a lot. And if you are looking to get your business visible, reach out to her. It's Lauren Salon, but look on the thing. I'll have her name spelled, laurensalon.com, and you can look at her, look to her for either the PR Accelerator or for the fully managed visibility experience. So it's up to you. But if you're looking at getting out there and being your true self, that was going to be hard for me. I'm going to work on that one because I'm so used to the corporate speak,
right?
You know, so the boardroom look. But
and it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum.
Hey, it's hard because you're so used to the suit and tie and speaking so proper and you know, not letting your hair down in a sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, everybody, if you're looking to just elevate that, then go to her website, see her content, see what she has, and if it works for you, sign up. I mean, hey, it's better than what you're doing right now. Because if you keep doing what you're doing right now, you're going to keep being where you are right now. So
absolutely.
Thank you once again for sharing so much. It's been a lot of great information. And like I said, I learned a lot myself. So
thank you. Yeah, this was super fun. I appreciate you having me on and sharing me with your community.
Great. And you should have had the dog come up and show the dog, but
I don't know where she is. She's probably on the couch in the living room where I
Yeah,
can't see her.
she's mad
breaking
at
the
you.
rules.
That's what it is.
She's
She's mad at you. She's like, oh, so you're gonna be like that now. I can't do what I want to do in the house. You got me
Yeah.
cooped up.
I know, because it rained all night. It's the sun's coming out now, but yeah, when it's raining, I don't want to go out on a walk.
Well, hey, I do understand, and luckily it's been nice so far. I hope it stays nice this week. But
yeah,
you know,
and where are you out in the world?
I'm in Atlanta.
Oh, cool! I went to Atlanta for the first time, November.
Oh, okay.
I think, or just yeah, loved it. I loved it. One of my best friends moved out there, and I went out to like look at apartments with her and stuff like that. I loved it.
Oh yeah, it's nice area. Yeah. Well, next time you come out, you should let me know. We can catch.
Definitely. I'll be. I mean, yeah, she's one of my best friends, so I plan to visit her more and stuff. So for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now I try to get out to Cali. I mean, if they ever let us leave the state, it's so hard getting around nowadays. And y'all have had so many, like you said before, so many things going on. It's
so dumb over here.
It's amazing. It's amazing.